And joining me now, Democratic Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia. Senator Kaine, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good to be with you, Kristen. Thanks.
It's great to have you. Thank you so much for being here. I do want to start by getting your reaction to what you just heard from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. He says the delay in releasing all the documents was necessary to conduct a thorough review to protect the survivors, he says. Do you trust that the Department of Justice is complying with the law here?
I wish I could say yes, but I don't, Kristen. And so let's just review. Jeffrey Epstein was a monster who trafficked underage women. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein knew one another pretty well. The circumstances of that friendship and how it broke up are disputed, but they knew each other. When Donald Trump was president, he put into his cabinet the prosecutor who cut the sweetheart deal with Jeffrey Epstein back during the Bush administration. He put Alex Acosta in his cabinet. Acosta later had to resign in disgrace. As a candidate, Donald Trump said he would release the Epstein files. As president now in February of 2025, he said we're going to release the files, and he had this much touted event with Pam Bondi at the White House talking about releasing the files. But then in July, the FBI and DOJ said there's nothing to see here. We're not going to release any more files. The statute that we're now talking about was not something that the White House wanted. It was something that a bipartisan Congress did to force Donald Trump's hand, to force him to meet his promises. And so in September, we passed this Transparency Act, forcing the DOJ, kicking and screaming, they didn't want to do it, to release files. So when they actually do release files, and it's a fraction of what's available, and it's heavily redacted, and then a day later they pull material back, the facts that I've just laid out for you show why so many people are really suspicious. All these files need to come out.
Well, Congressman Roe Comment and Thomas Massie, as I was just saying, who led the push to release the files, say they're looking at options including impeachment and contempt for DOJ officials. Would you support those steps, going that far, impeachment or contempt?
I think that's premature. Here's a recent example. The Pentagon was dragging their feet on not releasing files about the Venezuelan boat strikes. And so we put into the defense bill a requirement that they're either going to release or the travel budget for the Secretary of Defense is going to be reduced. We have tools in appropriations bills and other tools to force compliance if somebody's dragging their feet. And I'd rather focus on those tools than get into discussions about contempt and impeachment.
Let me ask you about what we have seen released in the Epstein files so far. Former President Bill Clinton is featured prominently in the first batch, as I was just discussing. Now, to be very clear, NBC News does not know the full context behind these images, and simply being in the Epstein files doesn't imply any criminal wrongdoing. But does Clinton owe the public an explanation about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
You know, I actually haven't tracked what President Clinton has said, and if there are unanswered questions, he should address them, and I suspect he will. But let's just make sure that we meet the promise that President Trump made as a candidate that all these files will be released. Let's put all the facts and all the material out on the table, and then folks can reach their own judgments about anybody connected with this horrible, horrible case. I led the effort to try to deny Secretary of Labor Acosta confirmation in the first Trump administration because of his involvement in this sweetheart deal, which, even knowing a fraction of the facts back then in 2017, it looked horrible. And he eventually had to resign in disgrace because of it. And since then, the public has had legitimate questions, and everything since, including Jeffrey Epstein's suicide, legitimate questions. Let's get it all out on the table.
I do want to turn to the escalating standoff between the United States and Venezuela. This week, President Trump told me in a phone interview that he's not ruling out a war with Venezuela. You yourself have argued that Nicolas Maduro is an illegitimate leader. On the one-year anniversary of Venezuela's 2024 election, which you and other senators said was stolen, you said, quote, "The United States must not forget about the people of Venezuela who overwhelmingly rejected Nicolas Maduro last year during a free and fair election, but continue to suffer under his brutal regime." Given that, do you think the United States should be pursuing regime change with Venezuela?
No, we should be using sanctions and other tools at our disposal to punish this dictator who is violating the human rights of his civilians and has run the Venezuelan economy into the ground. But I'll tell you, we should not be waging war against Venezuela. We definitely should not be waging war without a vote of Congress. As you know, I've long maintained we shouldn't be at war without a vote of Congress. And what I'm searching for right now, Kristen, is what is President Trump's motivation? These boat strikes were initially justified on the ground that we're fighting against narco trafficking. But then the president pardons some of the biggest narco traffickers ever convicted in United States courts. What's going on? Then Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, says it's about regime change. That's what this is about. And then President Trump tells you and others it's about oil. They took our oil and we want our oil back. What is it? This is so confusing. And meanwhile, the American public is watching the news of this week, Venezuela, the Kennedy Center renaming, the Epstein situation, and they're saying, Mr. President, please focus on bringing food costs down, health care costs down, energy costs down. Christmas is too expensive. We don't know why you're doing this in Venezuela, and we want you to focus on making life better here at home for Americans.
All right. Senator Tim Kaine, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Have a happy holiday.
Have a great holiday. Thanks, Kristen.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.